Hello. So coming at you today with another video of an old appliance, a Goblin Teasmade. So the other week in work, I can't remember what I was talking about, but I was talking to one of my colleagues, and I somehow I mentioned I had a Teasmade. They were saying something about they have to have a cup of tea every morning, and it's the first thing they do when they get up, they make a cup of tea. It was something like that. And I jokingly said, ha ha, well, I don't have to do that because I have a Teasmade. To which their reply was, what's a Teasmade? And then I thought, what's a Teasmade? I thought, how can you not know what a Teasmade is? And then really, I thought, well, I like old things, so I know what a Teasmade is, but there's probably not many other people my age that do, because I think Teasmades peaked really in the 1970s, early 80s, and after that they have been on the decline ever since. So everybody 40 plus knows what a Teasmade is, but not necessarily everybody my age. And then that made me think then. I remember a few years ago I was talking to one of my other friends and it came up again. And she said, what's a Teasmade? And I said, it's an alarm clock that wakes you up with a cup of tea. And she said, oh my God, that's so cool. Why doesn't everybody have them? And I said, well, they did years ago, but for some reason they fell out of favour. But yeah, in 1970s Britain, extremely popular. Never seemed to catch on in the US, probably because they drink more coffee than tea, or they do from what I've seen. To be honest, I prefer coffee as well. I don't use this a lot, mainly on my days off, and it is just for a cup of tea as soon as I wake up. I normally do drink coffee or soft drinks at other times. But I thought I would explain what a Teasmade does and how it works. So it is basically an alarm clock. As you can see here, there is a clock on the front. And you've got a few buttons here to operate the thing. It is very simple, really. You've got clock only. That's sort of like a reset button. So say like I press T now and then clock. That'll lift the T now button back up. It's got a built-in light, as you saw, that automatically came on then. So there's a button dedicated just for the light. So you can use it as a light, which is quite cool. This is more of an upper class Teasmade. There were cheaper models and there were more expensive models. This 1970s one being quite deluxe for the time, really. As I said, this is from when they peaked, really. So, but yeah, I think a lot of them had lights anyway, to be honest, but not all of them did. So it works. This is a kettle. This is all it is. It's an electric kettle with a plug on the front of it like that, which goes in there. And then it sits on this weighted pad. This pad moves up and down. And the plug of the kettle plugs into the plug on the Teasmade like that. So you slide it on. And this is full of water at the moment. So the weight pad thing here, the pressure mat really, has detected that the kettle is full. So it's gone down, which closes the circuit. So inside the little kettle, if I can take the top off, there is a heating element in the bottom there. So that's all that is, really. It reminds me of a little travel kettle that you can take in your suitcase, because they're the same size as that. They're quite small. Before I put that on, though, I will show you that there's the max water level in there. So it makes 2 cups of tea if it's filled to the water level. And it's quite hard for the camera to pick up, but there's a metal pipe going right to the bottom. And it is clever. Well, it's clever and it's simple. It's a gravity-fed system. So when the water starts to boil, that's why this has got a seal in the bottom of it. Because when the water boils, it gets forced through that pipe and it comes out the kettle's spout. Can you just see there? The kettle's spout is in the mug. The teapot, I should say, not the mug. So basically, this starts boiling and it gets forced out there, and goes into the teapot, where you can have whatever you want. I've seen in old adverts, they don't always use the name Teasmade, although that was the most popular name. I mean, this one says Teasmade on the front. But a lot of the time they were called automatic beverage makers, which I think is because they were trying to get away from the word Teasmade, because that implies it just makes tea. So straight away, you've eliminated, I mean, like I said, I prefer coffee. You can make coffee in this. All it is whatever you put in this teapot here. So there's a tea bag in there. I've left that in there from this morning because I knew I was going to do this demonstration. But you could put coffee in there. You can put hot chocolate powder in there. Do you know what? You could even put instant noodles in there and the boiling water would cook them. It is called a Teasmade, but you can do anything you want in it, really. But obviously only water can go in the kettle side. So, you know, to use it as an alarm clock, you press the auto button down. And this is currently set for 9 o'clock. So at 9 o'clock tonight, it would start to brew up. But to save us standing here for however many hours, I'm going to press the tea now button there, and it will make tea straight away to show you it working. So if I press clock only, that'll reset the alarm. But yeah, and if you want to use it as an alarm clock only and you don't want it to make a cup of tea, you wouldn't have any water in the kettle. And then when there was no water in the kettle, this little mat here that detects the weight that moves, the mat would be up. So as soon as it got to the desired alarm time, it would go off straight away and it wouldn't brew up. It only brews up if there is water in the kettle. So, you know, it's a handy alarm clock as well, really. It's quite a loud buzzer, so it'll definitely wake you up. It doesn't do bird noises or anything like lots of people's phones do now. It is a buzzer. But yeah, that is handy. You know, if I don't use it for a brew if I'm going to work because there's not enough time in the morning. I do have a separate alarm clock anyway, but I have before for various reasons and things. I've used it just as an alarm clock as well. So I best show you it working now. So I'm going to take off the lid of the teapot so I can show you what's happening inside. As I said, there is just the little spout in there for when it boils, and then once it detects there's no water left in the kettle, it'll set the alarm off, and that's when you would wake up. So if it was set for 9 o'clock in the morning, for example, it'll start brewing up at about 10 to, because it can't set the alarm off. Let me think about that. No, that's right. It can't set the alarm off straight away because your tea won't be ready. So it starts brewing up before because it needs a chance to boil, basically, if that sort of makes sense. So it'll brew up, and then at 9 o'clock, just as it reaches the boil, then it sets the alarm off. It will make an alarm noise at the end of this as well, what I'm about to do now, simply to let you know the tea is ready, not to wake you up. It's just so if you've pressed tea now and then walked away, you know the tea is ready. And pressing tea now automatically brings the light on as well. So I'll press that, and that brings the twin lights on. And you basically just wait for the kettle to heat up. I warmed it before already, so it would more or less heat up straight away. And obviously there's a lot of pressure building in there now because the water's boiling, and that's the pressure that forces the water through into the teapot where we've got our tea bag. Sometimes if I'm using it as a Teasmade, you know, to wake me up with a cup of tea, I will put a bit of milk in the teapot the night before with the tea bag. So in the morning when this thing starts brewing, the hot water goes straight into the milk and tea bag, and then literally all I have to do is pour the kettle into the mug, and I don't have to add milk or anything else. You can just about see the spout there. And there's the tea bag. And there it is, the gravity's forcing the water out of the kettle into the teapot. So that starts filling up nicely in there. There's a lot of steam coming off on the camera, sorry. So as you can see, it's coming out quite fast. It's quite a lot of pressure. So that's making your tea. And then once the kettle, the tea, yeah. And that basically means your brew is ready. So what's happened there is, once the machine has detected there's no water left in the kettle, it knows it must have boiled it all and poured it into the teapot, so it sets the alarm off. So, just to show you, if I press tea now again, it'll go off straight away because there's no water in the kettle now. But if I push down on the kettle to simulate water being in it, it'll start to boil the kettle again because I'm forcing it down so it thinks there's water in it. And then as soon as I let it go, that's all it is. That's how it detects there's no water there. So really, you know, I like them. A lot of people liked them years ago. But, you know, I have heard people call them a bit of a gimmick. And I can get that because, you know, the idea that you wake up and it's brewed perfectly isn't true. I mean, if you take sugar, you've got to put the sugar in yourself. I mean, what I do is I put milk in the kettle. Not the kettle. I put milk in the teapot the night before. So I don't take sugar in tea. So for me, to be honest, it really does make a cup of tea completely automatically. All I have to do is when the alarm goes off is this. Yeah, obviously that's not how I take tea, but the tea bag's been used this morning and there's no milk in the teapot. I keep getting confused between the teapot and the kettle. So basically it's a kettle on a timer. To be honest, if you could use a kettle that you would have in your kitchen, and if you had a timer plugged in the wall and press the button, the timer would brew the kettle in the morning. But, you know, again, there would be no alarm clock with that, and then you've still got to do everything else in the mug. But I can understand why people thought they were a bit of a scam. I mean, some of them were really expensive. I know this cost a lot. This is a top-of-the-line one. I have had this a few years now, but it was new old stock. It had never been used. I mean, this thing's older than me, but I bought it brand new old stock. So it was a new one. It's not been used. But really, in terms of new Teasmades, the only people I know making them is a company called Swan. Now, Swan do one. I don't think they were the original company, and I don't think it was Goblin either. But the Goblin models were the most popular ones. But apart from the Swan Teasmade, which is still made today, I don't think they even make them anymore. But yeah, so that's a video for you on the Goblin Teasmade to show you how it works. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye for now.